All right then. Well, we'll get started. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight. We really appreciate your time and being able to share Lillian's experience and expertise, as well as the Nurtured Heart approach to our families, our educators, to our clients, and for everyone that is interested in this approach and working on their relationships with their families. So my name is Kaylee. I am from the Pediatric Centre Gold Coast. So we are an allied health team that provides services including OTs, psychology, physiotherapy, exercise physiology. I'm also our dietitian within the team, and I manage our community hub. So tonight we are going to go through the Nurtured Heart approach with Lillian. So we've got Lillian here. Her son is joining us as well, Nathan, and we've also got Travis, who is the clinical director of Pediatric Centre Gold Coast. So just to let you know a little bit more about Lillian. So Lillian is a parenting strategist, and she's also an advanced trainer in the Nurtured Heart approach. So she has 2 adult sons, but her journey with parenting started, around when her 25 odd years ago. And when one of her youngest sons was diagnosed with ADHD and ODD and was finding some challenges with behaviors, which got her started with looking into how they can improve their relationships and work on challenging behaviors that might pop up in childhood and teenagers. So Lillian has been a coach for close to 25 years now in this space. She's an author of 6 books, and she's also facilitated many training sessions, seminars, workshops. She's also featured on TV and in many magazines and newspapers, as well as attending on podcasts. So we're very lucky to have Lillian with us tonight. Our organization has had a relationship with Lillian now for, I would think, over 18 months, close to 2 years. And she has provided training to our clinical team. So we had training with her back in August this year with the Nurtured Heart approach, so that us as clinicians could better our, improve our strategies and the ways that we connect with our colleagues, with our clients, and improve, how our therapies can go by using this approach. So thank you so much, Lillian. I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you so much, Kaylee, and thank you, Travis, for your dedication and for your support for families across Queensland and across Australia, and particularly for supporting the Nurtured Heart approach. It really warms my heart to think that organisations like yours see a need for something like this and want to promote it and share it with your families. And it's something that I'm truly passionate about. So thank you to everybody who's joining us live, or if you are catching the replay, welcome to the replay. So why am I here? I thought I would share why I'm here. So I really want to share my personal story and my family's story. And I know that when I share my story, so many people can relate. And people go, oh, now, somebody who understands what I'm going through. Oh, your story's so similar to mine. Or, oh, wow, you've been through a lot. Perhaps we're not going through as much as you were going through. So it helps people to relate to me because of the journey that we've been on. And I want to help connect parents, caregivers, educators and practitioners like those at Allied Health Services together for the benefit of all of our children. I really want to be able to share the Nurtured Heart approach, which I am so in love with and I truly believe is a blessing to everyone who values their relationships, especially relationships with their children, but also relationships with their spouses, with their other loved ones and family members, and even relationship with ourselves, because that's, of course, really important as well. And I want to help build inner wealth, and you'll understand a little bit more about what inner wealth is as we progress through in our children and in ourselves as well. I want to be able to help adults and children build positive portfolios of their strengths and greatness, which is what Nurtured Heart approach is all about. And I want to be able to give parents, educators, and caregivers who are struggling absolute hope. So thank you so much once again for joining me this evening. And I'm just guessing why you might be here. Now, some of these things may be relevant or they may not be relevant, but you may be feeling overwhelmed or exhausted if you're a parent, and I can sure relate to that one. Some days you may feel more stress than joy in your parenting or in your workplace with children. You may want greater connection and relationship with your children and loved ones. Maybe your children aren't being as cooperative as you'd like them to be, or they're just not listening as much as you'd like them to. You may feel like you're repeating what you didn't like in your own upbringing. How many people, are repeating the way that their parents parented them? So it becomes like a generational thing. And the thing that we didn't like about our parents parenting us, we tend to then duplicate and do in the next generation. Perhaps you just want to feel a bit better about how you're currently showing up as a parent. And I know that all parents have absolute love in their heart for their children, but sometimes, we don't feel as good as we could be or want to be with the way that we are parenting. You may feel like you're losing your connection with your children. And I do speak a lot with parents of, of tweens and teens who have this feeling that they're losing that sense of connection with their children. Or you may just want to do things differently or learn some new strategies. So if it's any of those things or anything different, please do use the chat box this evening. If you are listening in live, write any comments, make any suggestions, or, if I ask a question, feel free to put an answer in the chat box. I will value that, so it doesn't feel like I'm just speaking to myself. So please do say hello. If you are on, let us know where you're coming in from. Maybe let us know a little bit about your family and your children. So I want you to think about, whether you are on live or whether you're listening into the replay, what's your biggest challenge or frustration? And if I had a magical parenting wand, what would you most love us to magically do or solve for you? If I could just, sprinkle the magic dust over you, what would you love? If you are a practitioner, maybe you might like to think about what is the biggest parenting challenge that you observe within the families that you work with. And then, of course, what action are you going to take? I always believe if you are going to invest an hour or so in listening to a masterclass, then you want to take something away with you that you can practice or that can benefit your family. So by the end of this masterclass, please take note of something you've learned that will be helpful for you or your family and for your relationships. And then, of course, we need to take action, don't we? So what action steps will you be taking moving forward after this evening's masterclass? So what are we going to cover this evening? Our family's journey and why we are so passionate about helping so many other families to enjoy happier and healthier children and relationships. I'm going to talk briefly about how I was introduced to the Nurtured Heart approach, what is the Nurtured Heart approach, and how can it help all of our relationships. And please do pop in the chat box, do you know about the Nurtured Heart approach? Have you heard about it? Or is this the first time you're learning about it? Transformation starts with us. We're going to talk a bit about inner wealth and building a positive portfolio, what we can offer you if you want to learn more and strengthen your relationships. And of course, we're going to be talking about partnering with Allied Health Services and Pediatric section of the Gold Coast. And we also have some giveaways this evening. So I have two adult sons, as Kaylee said, in their 30s. And our second son was born 7.5 years after big brother, Nathan. And Nathan was actually a very quiet and passive child. So if you've got more than one child in your home and one is really quiet and passive and compliant and cooperative, that was our eldest son. And then along came son number 2, 7.5 years later. And boy, what a shock that was. It was a very stressful birth. He was put on a stress monitor and he came into the world with literally a bang. It was pretty stressful. And from birth, and you may relate to this, he was very irritable. He was screaming all the time. He was unsettled. He didn't sleep. Literally, if he wasn't breastfeeding or sleeping, he was screaming. There was very little peace in between. And he had an unhappy, he was an unhappy baby, and we had an unhappy big brother, and we had very, very, very stressed parents, as you can imagine. Can anybody relate to that? Maybe some of you can. So what happened in childcare? So our son, I actually went back to work for a break, and I know that sounds kind of strange, but it was so full on parenting him and being with him full time. And I actually went back to work for a bit of a break, as well as, of course, to contribute to, you know, the family finances. But he ended up going to 5 childcare centres over 2 years. So between 3.5 and 5.5, he went to 5 childcare centres. And we lived at that stage in a large country town in northern Victoria. And guess how many childcare centres there were? If you're guessing 5, you're right. There were 5 childcare centres, and we went to all of them. He was diagnosed by a paediatrician, psychologist, psychiatrist, and a bunch of people with childhood depression, ODD and ADHD, even before he started school. And the sad thing was, when I look back and reflect on that, the only thing that they could really recommend for our preschool child was medication. And for our family, that just wasn't a choice that we wanted to take. So this was a typical day in childcare. I won't read all of that out, but basically in the second last childcare centre we were in, they kept like a communication book, and every day that I went in to pick him up, I was presented with the communication book. And it got to the point where I wanted to wear big dark glasses and a big black floppy hat so that people couldn't see me, because I was so embarrassed, because it seemed like as soon as I went to pick him up, if other parents were there, they were looking at me as if to say, there's that mother of that really challenging child. And I knew that I was going to get presented with this communication book that had all of this negative stuff in it. And even though his carers were really doing their very best to care for him in a positive way, but they didn't know what they didn't know. They were doing what we now call, in the Nurtured Heart approach, a lot of upside down ways of communicating and connecting, especially with our son, because he was very, very demanding. Now, this was his first day at school. He looks happy enough. He was a cute little kid and he took a great photo, but it was a very, very stressful year. For his first year in prep, he spent more time in time out than he did learning, which was really pretty sad for a 5-year-old to not be able to contribute in class because he was so challenging. And he had a teacher who was quite strict, and I think they clashed. So it was like a bit of a power struggle between them. We then took him out of the mainstream schooling system into Steiner School, and he really did have a much better time in the Steiner School. Unfortunately, that school had to close due to financial reasons when he was in grade 5, but he had 4 really good years there. And I'm not saying they were perfect, but he certainly had a better time at school there than he did in mainstream. We then decided to move to Queensland. So he went from the regular primary school to the Steiner primary school to another primary school before we went to Queensland. And then when we got to Queensland, he went to another primary school. That didn't go so well. So then we put him in another one yet again. So he went to like 3 or 4 schools within 2 or 3 years, and because of, you know, us shifting, but also because of his challenges. So in year 7, we decided to put him into a private school where we thought it might have been more beneficial for him being at like a stricter environment, but that backfired big time. We soon realized that our son did not need that sort of strict control type of education. That really did not suit him and his personality. And he was basically asked to leave at the end of first term in year 8. I can still remember the elderly school principal saying, "We do not tolerate children like your son in our school." And she gave us 2 options. She basically said we can take him out voluntarily or he would be expelled. So we took him out voluntarily. He then went to another high school, and unfortunately that went from terrible to even more terrible because he started mixing with the wrong kids. And this really was a really, really stressful time for us. If you look at the word revolt there on the screen, and if you look backwards with the red letters there, in the middle of the word revolt is the word love. So a lot of kids who are revolting are really just looking for connection and love. And unfortunately, with stressed out parents like like myself, we were giving that to him in a really upside down way, and they in turn respond accordingly, which is great to look back in retrospect. So age 13 to 15 were really the toughest times, the toughest 2 years in our parenting career, probably the toughest 2 years in my whole life. 10x the challenges that we had when he was in preschool. He went to 2 secondary schools in 2 years. He got suspended for more days than he attended. And the interesting thing was, which I found really quite bizarre, was that he used to get suspended for wagging or truanting school, which made absolutely no sense because that's what he wanted. He had a terrible, terrible reputation with the teachers. We had many, many calls from the school. He was labelled as an absolute troublemaker at school. He started mixing in the wrong crowds with the wrong kids, getting into very inappropriate behaviours, getting into trouble with the police. Use your imagination. Anything that could have gone wrong went wrong. He ended up leaving school at age 15 with very poor school attendance and grades. But then something amazing happened. The universe stepped in and we connected with who we call our angel, who was a parenting coach, which is why I'm so passionate about what I do. It's quite a story that I won't share here this evening, but if you have had the opportunity to read my book, The Revolting Child, A Blessing in Disguise, which you can actually download for free off my website, that the story is in there. But we connected with this amazing man. We never met him in person. We never even saw him because back in those days, we just got on the phone. We didn't even use Zoom or anything like that. And he absolutely changed our lives. Now, there was an incident that actually happened just as we were starting to coach with Frank. And this was probably my worst parenting day ever. So if you're a parent on the call tonight, you might have a day that comes to mind that was your absolute worst parenting day ever. And for us, this was it. So our son actually was in trouble from school, at school again. We got a phone call from the school to say he'd done various things and that he was going to be suspended for 20 days, that we were expected to come up to the school. He was in a lot of trouble, and also to inform us that he had left the school grounds, so he wasn't at school. So he did have a mobile phone back in those days, but he wasn't answering it. He eventually came home, and did I do what a good mum should have done and said, hey, love, how was your day? You know, I heard you had some challenges. Tell me about it. Did I do that? No, I did not. I went straight into upside down parenting. I was like, between the phone call and him getting home from school, you know, when it all just builds up and builds up and builds up. So by the time he got home, I was just ready to let it all out. I yelled at him. I said, what are you thinking? Why are you getting into all this trouble? I can't believe it. You know, I just went so upside down. I was just focusing on all the stuff that, you know, that I didn't want to be focusing on, but I just did. And it got to the point where he basically said, I've had enough of this and I'm out of here. He used some choice words that I will not repeat this evening on this masterclass, but just use your imagination. He basically said, bleep, 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 I'm out of here. And it's quite a traumatic story, but I'll make it as brief as I can. So basically, from when he left home that afternoon, I just figured he'd come back home, you know, when he got hungry, etc. My husband got home from work quite late, and I was then starting to get concerned that he wasn't home. And so my husband went out and driving around the neighbourhood to see if he could find him. It's now like about 8 or 9 p.m. at night, and my husband couldn't find him. And eventually he bumped into one of the older boys that he used to hang out with. Actually like a young adult that he used to hang out with. And this person actually said to my husband, look, I saw him a while ago and he was not in a very good state. Now, that's not him, that picture of him in the gutter, but according to my husband, that's pretty much what he looked like, because my husband found him in an absolute drunken stupor in the gutter. He was so inebriated with whatever he'd taken. He didn't know his name. He didn't know where he was. He was vomiting. He was just a mess. And my husband literally had to carry him to the car. We had to put a mattress downstairs because we had a double-story house, and it took him 2 days to sober up. And in that time, we did some coaching with our parenting coach, and he actually taught us some strategies to deal with that situation. So rather than going into that upside down way of communicating and relationshiping that I did that earlier that day, he taught us to be his biggest supporter and fan, to be there to encourage him, to, you know, not to chastise him, not to punish him, not to, you know, because normally I would have said you're grounded forever, you know, for what had happened. And that was really the start of our healing journey, which, you know, we're really, really passionate about. So it was, you know, we literally went from a child who was revolting, who was not revolting as in disgusting, but the act of revolt. He was revolting against any authority at school, his parents. He had a terrible relationship with all of us. He was just, he wasn't getting on with anybody, basically. So after the revolt, and when the healing began, you can almost see the difference. You know, you can see it's the same kid. And it's quite interesting that we caught that shot there of him looking like that. But after we started treating him differently, guess what happened? You know, he started treating us differently. So, and that's why I'm super passionate about sharing with parents the power of our words and the power of what we give attention and energy to. So he started to mend his relationship with big brother Nathan. They're now great friends. They partner together, you know, in so many things. They have common interests. They're still very different, but they, you know, they get on really, really well. Whereas years ago, it was not it was not a good relationship that they had. So this is my beautiful family. This is Caleb, the topic of all of my books and of this masterclass. His big brother Nathan. Amy is Caleb's partner, and that's my husband Andrew and I there. So we have a beautiful family. We all totally love and respect each other. And actually only a few days ago, Caleb and Amy have moved out on their own. So Amy has lived with us for 5 years with Caleb. So I'm feeling a little bit like an empty nester, but we've lived together. He still has been visiting nearly every day, mind you. So yeah, we've really got on so well that we've been living together all these years, even with his partner joining us. He's also been working with his dad now for about 11 or 12 years. So they started in business in 2012. And interestingly, when our son was going through those challenging years, my husband and my son really super clashed, because my husband felt it was really difficult to see the behaviours that he was exhibiting, and especially the way that he was treating his mother, because I was his favourite toy. We'll talk a bit more about that later. So now they're the best of mates. They really are great friends, not just father and son who get on together. They do so much together, and they really are like just great mates and business partners, as well as, you know, having a beautiful father-son relationship. And I can tell you that things were not going to go that way a few years ago. So I'm so pleased that things have changed. So I'd love to invite Travis to come and join us now. So Travis, Kaylee briefly mentioned in the introduction. So Travis is the clinical director at Allied Health Services. He's also a physio, and he lectures, and he's an amazing person. And he's actually been implementing the Nurtured Heart approach both at home and with some other children in his personal life and also in his business life. So Travis, feel free to just share whatever you'd like to share about your experience so far with the Nurtured Heart approach, and any benefits that you've seen, you know, with dealing with it. Just anything you'd like to share would be amazing.
Thank you, Lillian. I'm not sure if everybody can see me. Can you ever see me, Lillian?
Yes, we can.
Excellent, excellent. I'm still getting the hang of all this. So as Lillian said, my name's Travis Doherty. My first and foremost role, of course, is as a father, and I try and certainly nurture and grow my children towards their greatest potential every day of the week. Those who know me quite well may consider me sort of quite a hands-on father, and I certainly try and have every available moment that I have or can have with my children, be that extracurricular activities, or weekend fun. It's every minute's important. But I'm sure that's no different to many of the other people here watching tonight or on the replay. Essentially, our children are our greatest gift, and yet unlike so many other important things in life, there is no user manual on how to best operate these young cherubs. So sometimes we do face challenges where children's behaviour may not be as we would like, and we must come at that behaviour with a certain approach. And there's obviously lots of different approaches out there. There's lots of different parenting courses and seminars and things that you can do. But we've certainly adopted Lillian's approach, and we've had a great result, both from a professional level and also from a personal level as well. So my other role consists of being a clinical director of a very long-established allied health team on the Gold Coast. And we're very much a multidisciplinary team. And as part of that role, I'm required to manage and mentor quite a number of clinical professionals so that in turn, they can also have great success with their patients. Pediatrics is an area where we operate quite extensively and often providing clinical care for quite a vast array of children with pediatric conditions, both physical conditions and cognitive conditions. As clinicians, we require a parenting and behaviour management style that does offer a more of a one-size-fits-all approach, because we want to have continuity between the consultation in the clinic and also when the child goes home and is with their either support workers or their loved ones. But of course, as we know, rarely does a one-size-fits-all approach ever work, and particularly for the greater majority. However, in this case, we've been very pleased to learn that the Nurtured Heart approach does tend to achieve that outcome more often than not, and that's what's been so exciting. And I just share a little story. I've shared this once before, but about my personal experience with the Nurtured Heart approach, and it was actually before I'd sort of gone further in the teachings from Lillian about the different approaches and techniques. But as an assistant coach on my young son's AFL team, I started to implement the Nurtured Heart approach techniques and found great success, particularly amongst a unique team. I had my son's team of 30 young boys. Out of the 30 boys, there was at least 7 that had diagnosis of ADHD. And so quite a team and quite a vast array of different behaviours at any one time. But after quite a few weeks of slowly but surely just implementing little pieces of the Nurtured Heart approach, all of a sudden, a lot of those behaviours became negated. We didn't see them. And all of a sudden, the team became quite positive. The young boys became more friendly towards each other, which was really nice to watch. And even towards their own parents, their behaviour became more positive and more enjoyable. And I think it was just some basic techniques that are taught as part of the Nurtured Heart approach that really made such a difference in that particular situation for me. The other thing the other reason I should say why we like the Nurtured Heart approach is because when we're working with clinicians, we have clinicians from a variety of backgrounds, variety of experiences, but also a variety of family situations. So not all of our clinicians have families as yet, and some don't have children. And as a result, sometimes those personal experiences with children, or if you haven't had those personal experiences with children, can sort of set you aside or make you a little bit different from those that have had maybe children in their lives for many years. So often parents will notice that difference. But having the Nurtured Heart approach on board and as a bit more of a standardised approach throughout all the clinicians, regardless of whether they've got children themselves or not, we've found certainly helps to keep that continuity in that learning space within the consultation, and allows the clinician to talk the right language then to the parents or the caregivers, and teach and assist them for when they take their child home, to implement the same sort of techniques that were learnt in the consultation. So look, we at Allied Health Services Australia and Pediatric Centre Gold Coast have absolutely embraced this program and certainly value what it offers. We've had multiple training sessions, and Lillian has been a fantastic mentor of this program for us, and we see its potential and we enjoy using it on a daily basis, but we certainly see its long-term potential within the organisation for the reasons I mentioned, and that was certainly to create that continuity of clinical practice, both within the consultation, but again, when that child goes home. So within the child's world, which is most important, they experience a similar approach by as many people as possible, which makes them feel warm and loved, and avoids that upside down parenting, and is a win for everybody. So we've embraced, as I said, and our goal is to facilitate more opportunity for therapy access more often throughout each week, and not always within the confines of the clinical therapy session. So thank you, Lillian, for your again, your time tonight and imparting what is such a great program. And we've certainly well and truly been hooked by your program and see its benefit. And we look forward to hopefully spreading the word about this program amongst others in the community so that everybody can benefit.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Travis. Travis, it warms my heart to hear stories like that, like even just the little story of the football team. I mean, it might sound like a minor thing, but the snowball of effect of that sort of thing can be just huge. And particularly for those, 7 or so young people who have been diagnosed and maybe don't get a lot of positive, during their day at school and so forth. So thank you, Travis, for shining the light of Nurtured Heart on those children. And it's not just for children who are exhibiting some challenges. This is really a way of communicating and relationshiping. I believe once you learn the Nurtured Heart approach, it's really like learning a whole new language, and it's something that you'll want to use forever. So this is a few of the Allied Health Services team that we did a whole day training back in was it August, did you say, Travis? And yeah, that's some of the people there who participated. I think that was about a 7-hour training, so it was pretty full on, but it was a really fantastic day. So how did I find out about the Nurtured Heart approach? It's interesting because, how I was just speaking about my parenting coach, Frank, who was our absolute angel. So I was actually one day invited to speak at a youth, like a youth networking day where there were, psychologists and youth workers, etc. And I was speaking there, and I was having this conversation with a psychologist, and she said, what you're talking about, what you've been sharing sounds very much like something I've just heard about that's new, called the Nurtured Heart approach. Is that what it is? And I'm like, no, I've never heard of the Nurtured Heart approach. So I wrote it down, of course, and after that conversation, and went home and Googled, and 5 or 6 hours later, I was like blown away, because it was so in alignment with the strategies that our parenting coach had taught us. But it was a lot more practical, a lot more, oh, we've got somebody else on there, a lot more of a routine that I could teach people, a lot more, I can't think of the word now, but strategic rather than just anecdotal coaching that we were doing with our parenting coach. So when I heard about the Nurtured Heart approach, and when I did all that research, I was so excited. And I actually went online to see, how I could access more information. And at that stage, it wasn't officially in Australia. And there was one psychologist who was actually bringing it into Australia. And he happened to live pretty much in the same suburb I did, which was amazing. So I became a groupie, and I did every training. I did every online training. I did every live training. And then that was in 2013. Then in 2014, Howard Glasser actually came out to Australia and did his very first live certified intensive training, and I became a trainer. And then in 2021, I qualified to become an advanced trainer. So I'm one of a very few people in Australia that's doing what I'm doing. So that's why we really want to spread the word. We want to spread the word to parents, to educators, to practitioners, to clinicians, to anybody who basically deals with children. So please do spread the word, because this is something that truly can benefit every single one of our relationships. So here's a little message from Howie. So Howard Glasser is actually the founder of Nurtured Heart approach. He's now well into his 70s. The Nurtured Heart approach is actually over 30 years old now. So let's just listen to Howie's little intro here.
Hi, Lillian. Hi, my friends in Australia. I am so happy you found your way to the Nurtured Heart approach. You're in the best of hands, and I hope you enjoy the ride. It will be revealing and fun and empowering. Be well.
Thank you, Howie. He did that especially for me. So, yeah, he's an amazing man. And he himself would have been diagnosed with ADHD when he was a child. And he considered himself to be a very intense child. And when he was working as a clinician, he was finding, and he actually used to specialize in ADHD, but he was finding that all of the ways that he was taught to teach parents to deal with their ADHD children, it just wasn't working. And so he thought to himself, there has to be a better way. And slowly the Nurtured Heart approach came to life. Like, he just came up with little ideas here and there. And then I think it took over like a couple of years or so before it was even named Nurtured Heart approach. But we're so, so grateful for Howard Glasser, because he has literally changed tens of thousands of lives. In America, it's very well known. It's in most schools, or in many, many schools, and a lot of organisations like Allied Health Services are using the Nurtured Heart approach. So we want to get that word out more in Australia, so that we can help families here. So the Nurtured Heart approach was originally designed for transforming the intense child, but really it's about helping all children to flourish, and dare I say, all relationships to flourish. So it really is, it's not about temporary change. It's not even about, learning a few parenting strategies that are going to help with your child. It's actually about transformation of your relationships with each other, transformation of how you feel about how you communicate as a parent or a caregiver of children. It truly is transformational. So, and transformation does start with us. As I've been a parenting coach now for over 25 years, and often when parents come to me with intense or challenging child, we as parents are often stressed. Have we got any parents on the call or listening in who can relate to that? We are stressed. We are feeling overwhelmed. So transformation needs to start with us. We need to work on our sense of self. We need to work on our inner wealth. So whether we're parents or practitioners or caregivers, educators, whatever adult of influence we are, the transformation has to start with us. So many parents come to me thinking and saying, can you help me with my child? Can you help me fix my child? Can you help me with my child's behavior? But actually, it really does start with us. I've actually got one of my parents on here tonight, Inya, who's been using the Nurtured Heart approach for just a few weeks, and she's having some great results. So if you fancy writing something in the chat box, Inya, for others to listen to or read, please do, because she's doing so well with this in her home, and she's also an early childhood educator. So we'd appreciate any feedback you can give us. Thank you. So in the Nurtured Heart approach, one of the biggest things we aim to do is to build inner wealth and a positive portfolio for our children and for ourselves. So you may not have heard of what inner wealth is, and it's different things for different people. Excuse me, but for me, it's like a combination of self-esteem, self-respect, self-love, self-appreciation, self-worth, and really just seeing ourselves as the amazing person we are. And our goal is to absolutely build that inner wealth, both for ourselves and for our children, because sometimes, and I know when I was parenting my younger son and he was stressed and I was stressed and he was getting in all this trouble, I didn't think much of myself, my self-esteem, my self-worth, my self-respect, my self-love, my self-appreciation was right down low, like it was not good. And I'm normally a pretty positive person, but I wasn't feeling good about who I was because of the experience that I was having as a parent. So we want to help parents to feel better about who they are, not only as a parent, but just as a person as well, a person of greatness. Now, our children's portfolio may currently look something like this, and I certainly speak to a lot of parents and about their children, And in their portfolios, they might have things like, you know, things work out for others, but not for me. I'm not understood. I'm broken and I need fixing. Go ahead and read some of those while I have a sip of water. You know, I'm unpopular. I have no friends. I'm always in trouble. No one wants to listen to me. Or if they're younger kids like my son, nobody wants to play with me. I'm not worthy. I'm not happy. I'm sad. I'm not smart, or I'm dumb, or I'm not good enough. You know, I can't get things right. I hurt or disappoint people. I must deserve to get yelled at because I'm always getting yelled at. Things work out for others, but not for me. So, you know, in our portfolio, and if you visualize an actual physical portfolio, so what happens is while our children are growing up, if you visualize that physical portfolio, all of those things that keep getting repeated to the child goes into that portfolio, so that in time they actually believe it. And then when they take that portfolio away, when they get older, or when they leave home, or when they go off to university or get a job, or, you know, go out into the big world on their own, they carry with them that portfolio of all of that I'm not good enough stuff, which is really sad to think that, you know, that's the case. So it's not necessarily a task of erasing the old portfolio, but it's about creating a new portfolio that's really energetically aligned. And we really, really want to confront children with who they are by using every moment we can to point to successes, and embedded what we have to say about a child's greatness into first-hand experience of the moment, so the kids actually really believe what we're saying about them. Because sometimes, you know, when kids are constantly criticized and we do say something positive, then they don't even believe it. They don't believe it because they're so used to hearing the negative. But wouldn't you love to have in your children's portfolio things like this? I am respectful and I deserve respect. Things do work out for me. I follow my dreams. I have a healthy body and make great choices. I'm well liked and love myself. I have amazing friends and attract positive people. I use great self-control. Others want to listen to me. I am worthy. I feel happy and fulfilled. I have many skills and talents. I am strong and I'm resilient. I can do anything I put my mind to. I'm kind and compassionate. I'm respectful and I deserve respect. Would you rather your children's portfolio to be filled with those things, or the things that we looked at a couple of slides ago? I'm pretty sure I know what the answer will be for that one. So with the Nurtured Heart approach, I'm going to give a very brief overview this evening. And it's based on 3 core methodologies, or 3 stands. And you know, when you stand for something, you know, you're resolute on it. It's something that you're strong about, that you really believe in. So the 3 stands of the Nurtured Heart approach are: stand 1, absolutely no; stand 2, absolutely yes; and stand 3, absolutely clear. So stand 1, absolutely no. And this can be so tricky for parents when they first learn this, because as parents, particularly of intense and challenging children, we give so much of our attention, so much of our energy and relationships and the words that come out of our mouth to the negative, to the things that we don't want more of, that we don't want to grow. So stand 1 is refusing to energize the negative, and that's tricky sometimes, particularly when, you know, things are happening in the home. But we give you strategies and teach you how to do this. I will not reward negativity, which could be anything from disruptions and outbursts that distract children from their greatness, with elevated energy connection or relationship. And it's about really being intentional about watching where your energy is flowing. So often when we're stressed, when we're escalated, when we're dysregulated ourselves as parents, we don't think about where our energy is going. And often it's going towards the things that we actually don't want more of. And you may have heard of that saying, where attention goes, energy flows and results show. And that's definitely the case. I'm just going to read out what Enya said here. So when I heard about the Nurtured Heart approach, I felt super motivated to learn more. As Lillian said, I've only really started to learn more about it a few weeks ago, but the change is amazing. I personally feel calmer and finally can see good in my intense children again. And instead of waiting for the next meltdown. I'm constantly sharing greatness. I can't wait to learn and become more skilled in the next half year. That's amazing, Enya. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's really something positive for the listeners to know. So so stand one is all about not giving that energy, and it is a difficult practice to get right. It is, because no matter how many years you've been parenting or in this world, we tend to give more attention to the things that are going wrong, and unfortunately some of us are just naturally more negative than we are positive. So there's no mandate to never drop the ball or else on this stand. If you do find yourself energizing the negative, we simply just teach you to reset or to switch it, and to then think about where you want to go with that energy. So being aware of the energy is the most important thing, because yes, we can fall into that, Howard Glasser calls the bad land of negativity, but being aware that we have gone down that road is the first step, because once we're aware, then we can reset and change that energy in any moment. So stand two is absolutely yes, and this is my favorite stand. So this is about relentlessly creating and energizing positivity and success. So we want to energize and nurture first-hand experiences of success. As Enya was just saying before, she's now focusing more on the things that she wants to grow, on the qualities and the greatness that she's seeing in her children, instead of focusing her energy on the things that are going wrong. So stand two is about identifying and describing and expressing appreciation for steps, whether they be large or small, a child takes in manifesting their positive choices and intrinsic greatness. So sometimes we have to do a bit of hijacking. Sometimes we have to look for the smallest opportunities to look for greatness and to help grow that greatness. And it's about actively initiating opportunities for children to be successful. And of course, we teach you all the strategies. We have 4 different recognition techniques which you learn when you do the Nurtured Heart Approach course, called active recognition, experiential recognition, proactive recognition, and creative recognition. I won't go into detail about those just because of time this evening, but it's like very specific ways of teaching you to recognize your children. And then in time, it's like if you imagine you are learning a new language, and you're not going to be able to, learn German or Japanese or whatever language it is in a few days, a few weeks, or possibly not even in a few months. It takes time, right? So we take baby steps as we're learning the language, practicing the language, and then in time, we won't have to think about, oh, that's an active recognition, or that's a creative recognition, or that's an experiential. We will just flow with the language, because we've learned the language so well that we won't even have to think about it. We'll just be able to speak Nurtured Heart fluently, just like after learning, German or Japanese, you can go over to that country and converse with the people over there with that language. You'll be able to do the same with Nurtured Heart Approach. And that's why my courses, I call them a rolling course, because they roll on. You can basically stay in the course for as long as you want, whether that be 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 24 months, or however long you need to really get fluent in Nurtured Heart, which is great, because some people are fast learners, some people like to stay connected for longer, and some people are fine to go off on their own, but others love that connection and relationshiping with other parents as well, which is what I found has worked really well. So stand 3, and people often want to get to stand 3 at the start, but if you imagine, a 3-story building, you can't put up the 3rd floor of that building until you put up the 1st and 2nd floor. So you have to learn stand 1 and stand 2 first, but then once you've learned the first 2 stands, then you can incorporate stand 3. So stand 3 is about clarity. It's about setting and enforcing clear limits and clear consequences in an unenergized way. And it's about enforcing rules and providing immediate consequences each time a rule is broken. Now, our consequence is very different to consequences you might have learned. We don't have traditional timeouts or taking away privileges or going to your room or taking away, a phone or a privilege or not being able to go to something. We don't do that sort of thing. We have a simple thing called a reset that, once again, we teach in the program. And it's really about recognizing the child in the moment they have then reset and creating the next moment as an opportunity for success. So the child actually gets to learn that once they've reset, that they can get back into the game of positivity, get back into the family or whatever they're doing. So the key to the consequence of resetting is getting back into the positive zone. That's what we want to help children do. And we often explain that through the video game theory, which I'll talk about in just a moment. Howard Glasser actually likes to share about the nurture heart approach and how it all works through stories and analogies. So he has this analogy of we as their parents are their favorite toy. And when you think about when a child gets a new toy, what do they want to do? They want to explore it. They want to check it out. They want to see what its fun features are. Once they figure out the boring features, they kind of put it aside. They're not so interested in the boring features. And then I guess once they, think that it's a boring toy, they don't even want to go back to it again. But if you think about particularly us mums and dads as well, but when if you think about children and us as their favorite toys, I usually have a remote here, but I don't have it at the moment. But just imagine, our kids literally have a remote control in their hands. They know how to press, what buttons to press to get what reactions. And we become their ultimate entertainment center, remote control included. So if you think about it, we're boring when things are going right. And when I first heard this, I was like, what a strange thing to say, but it's quite true, because our responses to the positive often pale in relation to those for the negative. And we inadvertently show children they get more of us from negativity. So they get more connection, more relationship, more attention, if you want to call that. But really it's about connection and relationship, because that's what children are seeking. And children then learn from a very young age that they get more from us, more connection, more relationship, when they're mucking up, when they're breaking the rules, when they're fighting with their siblings, when they're not listening, when they're being disrespectful. That's when we come to life. And if you actually think about, if you're really honest with yourself, think about, the last time, whether it be in the last 24 or 48 hours or in the last week, when did you radiate the most energy? Was it when the kids were behaving and being cooperative and compliant and playing nicely? Or was it when they were mucking up, breaking rules or doing something silly? And we tend to default to those things, like the threatening, the punishing, the reprimanding, the nagging, the lecturing, and the yelling. And I don't know about you listening in here this evening, but I know that none of that worked. I'm a teacher as well. It didn't work as a teacher. It certainly didn't work as a parent. And if it ever did work, it was mainly just because of the child felt threatened or controlled. But threatening and punishing and reprimanding and nagging and lecturing and yelling usually just makes us cranky, but it often doesn't work. And please let me know in the chat box, if you agree with that. I'm sure that we've all yeah, done a lot of that in the past. If you've got even well-behaved children, right, we tend to still do a lot of the nagging and lecturing and yelling, etc. So let me just check the chat box again. My two girls love to hear about their greatness, and even in conflict, we focus on positive example, communicating and being aware of your feelings. We get a lot of smiles, hugs, and thank yous, and they start to tell me some of my greatness. And that's one of the beautiful serendipities of using this on your children, is that they will actually reflect it back on you as well. So that's fantastic to hear. So if you think about it, and I've actually got my watering can here. If you imagine water what you want to grow, or on this side, I've written, what are you watering and giving energy to? So if you think about picking up I was out watering some of, I planted some little flowers yesterday, so I was out watering them this afternoon. Now, while I had my watering can, and I literally did have a watering can, and I was watering my flowers, there's no way I would have got my watering can with my nice water in it and gone, oh, weed, I'll water the weed. I don't want to water the weeds because I don't want the weeds to grow. I was very purposefully watering the flowers that I wanted to grow. But if you think about it in your parenting and your communicating and your relationshiping, is what are you watering? Are you giving more water to the things that you don't want to grow, like the misbehavior, the disrespect, the not being cooperative, the not listening? Is that what you're watering? Is that what you're giving more relationship and connection and attention to? Or is it things that you want to grow? And just like Anya was saying before too, she started to switch that and to turn that around. And even in just a few weeks of starting this, I think she's only like about 3 or 4 weeks in, she's already getting amazing response. So if the toy, i.e. us, is more animated, compelling and alive and energized when things are going wrong, then that gets transmitted and translated energetically to feeling more loved and more valued and more celebrated in relation to problems. And sadly, some children come to think that the main time they receive focused quality time is when they've broken a rule and they get a lecture or a reprimand, sadly. So we need to turn that up the other way, parents particularly. So that's just a really, really brief overview of the Nurtured Heart approach. And if you would love to enjoy a happier and healthier home and loving and connected relationships with your children, this is really something that you may want to look at. If you are sick and tired of the yelling, the nagging and the threats, which I definitely was, if you crave a closer and more respectful relationship with your children, if you want to gain cooperation with your children rather than control, because let's face it, nobody likes to be controlled. As adults, we don't like to be controlled, and neither do children. We want to gain their cooperation so that they are cooperative rather than trying to control them. If you want your children to be both happy and healthy today and growing into their adult years, then this is something you may want to look at. If you want to enjoy your day-to-day interactions with your children, if you just want your kids to listen and follow simple instructions, which a lot of parents say, I just want them to listen. If you want to know that when your kids have kids, that you'll still be super connected, because for me, that's something that's super important. It's just not when we've got our kids at home, but we still want our kids to be super connected when they leave home, when they go off and have their own families. We want them to feel connected to us because they want to be, because they enjoy being around us, and we make them feel good, not because of a sense of, oh gosh, I've got to go see mum or dad. You know, we want that beautiful, loving, heart-centered connection, and I want that until my box day, and I even want to leave a legacy so that even when I've gone, I'm remembered from my children and my grandchildren for that beautiful, loving connection that I have with them. So if any of those things appeal to you, you will want to come and join us in our Nurtured Heart course that you can join at any time. As I said, it's a rolling course. So my why is definitely my family, and also the other families that I help to impact. I teach the families in my course, to have, something like a greatness jar or a greatness board in their home where parents can recognize their children. But of course, I'm in a home with adults only. Up until just a few days ago, 5 adults in the home. So we had a greatness jar for some time where we would actually recognize each other. So these are all acknowledgements either from one of my boys or from one of my boys, my youngest son's partner. So to my beautiful mum, I recognize your greatness in always being there for our family. We love you so much. Mum, I see your greatness of always making others feel special, included, always finding ways to make us feel special and valued. I see your dedication to your health and your efforts you are making every day. I see your amazing dedication to implement the Nurtured Heart approach to our family and transform all families on our weekly call. I see your greatness of always being there for us and always encouraging us to do better, always bringing out the best attitude in us. And these are all adults in their 30s, right? So it's just absolutely beautiful. And these are 2 notes that I will treasure always, because these were written by my son when he was a teen. One of them particularly, I think this one, he was a teen. Let's see, I think he was about 19 or something in this one. And I got this beautifully framed for Christmas. This Christmas, I thought I would write you a thank you letter. As this year's Christmas present is like no other, it's the most valued possession I have. Yet it costs nothing, and very few are lucky enough to ever experience it. It's the love, understanding, and care I receive from my family each and every day of every year. It's the feeling I get when I walk through the door greeted by, "Hi, how was your day?" It's knowing that no matter whatever happens, I can come to a place where I'm respected and appreciated. Mum, in my 19 years, so obviously he was 19, he's now 30, have I met a mother that compares to you? It's people like you, as few as there are, as you said, that make a house a home and make a family a team. There is nothing I could ever do to thank you or repay you enough for the countless years of dedication, blood, sweat, and tears you have poured into me. But I will do my best to remind me every day of the amazing, beautiful person you are, and how the world will never be the same without you. Forget the big presents and fancy buffets. If I'm with my family on Christmas Day, as far as I'm concerned, I'm the luckiest guy alive. So thanks again, Mum, for every minute of guidance and patient love. You forever, your grateful son. So how many people get a note like that from their teen, from their 19-year-old? I think this one was about, 2015, so about 8 years ago. So he was in his early 20s. Dear Mum, there are no words to describe how lucky I am to have a mother like you. Your caring, loving nature has helped sculpt me into the man I am today. None of us know the depth and complexity of the ripple effect our actions have. However, you will have the next 50 years to witness it. You have raised a man that is not only 50 years, I wish, you have raised a man that is not only thankful to you for everything you have done, but thankful to the universe for facilitating it. My life will be dedicated to compassionately helping others to achieve, dream, prosper, and most of all, just be happy. And this is all because of you. You have inspired me in so many ways, and now millions of lives will be changed for the better, as what started as a drop of water in a stream can quickly turn into a tsunami of change. I have realized recently that it's not the people making big decisions and big drama that change the world. It's every single loving, caring person behind the scenes, and Mum, you're one of them. You are my inspiration, and one day you will see the true effect of everything you have given me. Isn't that just so beautiful? And remember, he got kicked out of school at age 15, and for the previous 2 years, he really didn't participate in school, yet he can still write such beautiful, beautiful words. So I'm going to leave it there, but I am going to hand back over to Kaylee just to finish off the last a little bit of information with us this evening. Thank you, Kaylee.
Hello, thank you so much, Lillian. I realized I hadn't taken note of your greatness jar suggestion previously, and I really love that idea. So I'd like to get that going in our workplace. I think that would be really nice. Yeah. So with regards to the course, we're really lucky to be working alongside Lillian. Our team at Pediatric Centre Gold Coast have been provided a special discount for those that would like to join the course. So if you are interested, I'm going to add our contact details into the chat. So you can then make contact with us and we can, get it started with the course. So there is a special discount. It's usually $2,977. But yeah, we will be able to discuss that with you when you make contact with regards to the course fees. I also wanted to mention that Lillian is providing a limited number of one-on-one consultations complimentary. So usually these cost $197, but she's doing the complimentary for anyone that makes contact through the Pediatric Centre Gold Coast regarding the course. And for those that have attended tonight as well, you can make contact to receive a copy of the Best Me I Can Be book for free. So that can be picked up from our office, which is in Robina. If you can just contact us by the end of the week and we can reserve you one of the books to be picked up. So I will pop our contact details in the notes. And yeah, you can get in touch to pick up your free book. So thank you so much, Lillian, for those offers. So the consultation one-on-one with yourself, complimentary, the free book as well, and also the special discount for anyone that would like to book in with the course through our team. I think I've covered, the main things, Lillian. Was there anything else I needed to touch on?
No, I think that's it. I mean, people
Yeah.
can, you can take a screenshot of that or just read that, but the course is actually a lifetime membership. So it's not like just a course that you've got to, finish in a certain time. So as I said before, you can stay in the course for as long as you like. You actually have access to a course portal with all of the recordings of all the content, of all the Q&A and discussion calls. My son Nathan is a naturopath, herbalist and nutritionist. He also gives a lot of great information. And of course at Allied Health Services, they have some amazing practitioners there as well. You actually receive the Nurtured Heart hard copy book, and also a participant manual as well, a 60-page manual. And you also receive a one-on-one session with myself and a one-on-one session with Nathan as well, which is really exciting. And I think most importantly, working with Allied Health Services means that not only do you get me, but you get them as well. So they will actually hold your hand through this process with your child. And they can actually help. If you're not already working with Allied Health Services, the pediatric section, they can actually assist you as well if you have NDIS support for your family, and they can help you work all of that out as well, which is really, really exciting. So thank you so much, Kaylee and Travis, for facilitating this evening. Travis, did you have any final words that you wanted to share?
I think just from our perspective, Lillian, we're very grateful for everything you've imparted onto our team, and we just simply look forward to being able to share that knowledge to the friends and family as we conduct our normal clinical practice on a day-to-day basis. So thank you, and we'll talk soon, I'm sure.
Awesome, thank you. And thank you so much, everybody. Please do reach out to Allied Health Services. I think Kaylee's popping the details there. If you would like to claim one of those books, you're very, very welcome to. And also 5 people can have a one-on-one consultation, as Kaylee said. So thank you so much again, Kaylee, for being an amazing host this evening. You rocked it. And thank you, everybody who's joined us live, and for those who are taking the time to listen to the replay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lillian.
Good evening, everyone.
All right. Bye.